Greetings and welcome to Smartwatch Ticks. Let's do this. You're here because you want to know what's the difference. Really, what's the difference? Is there a difference between the LEMFO LEM12 and the OUKITEL Z32? Can you see it? Yeah, you're right. I haven't taken the screen protector off of the Z32, otherwise I wouldn't be able to tell them apart at all. But there is one other difference just visually. Okay, 1, 2, you got it. Yep, look at that. Stitching is different on the bottom band on the LEM12. It's identically matched on the Z32. Somebody stuck the wrong band together, which makes me wonder if this is a prototype that I got, not an actual production unit. Now, it looks subtle, but in the end, you're going to think that might be a big indicator as to why we're seeing what we're seeing on this watch, which is wrong compared to the specs. Let me get into it. First of all, I know you have watched the review on the LEMFO LEM12, and you know by watching that one that you can pick this watch up through a link in the show notes directly from the LEMFO store at AliExpress, or you could pick it up from Banggood. They're carrying it as well. And you also know that the prices are constantly changing, and I got a coupon for you. If I can get one, I'd get it to you for a better price. And you know that we have a spec sheet on each of these. I want you to pay careful attention to the specs right here. Can you see them? Good. We'll be back because I also want you to know, and I'm sure you've already read the review on the Z32, that this watch is pretty much got the same features and specs. It's coming to us from Gearbest, and likewise, I got a discount coupon for you in the show notes. And it comes with its own specs too. Okay, let's talk about these now. There's a big difference between the two of these in one key area. Check it out. Number 5. Here we go under the main features. A 2-megapixel front camera and an 8-megapixel side camera. That, folks, is different than the LEM12, which says it has a 5-megapixel / main 8-megapixel dual cameras, plural. Selfie, landscape is cleaner. 5-megapixel, 8-megapixel. What's going on? Well, let me show you hardcore what's going on, because that is the difference between these two watches and is the reason you're going to want to buy this one, unless this is a prototype. Let's go. Both of them are actually turned on right now. I turned them on last night after being fully charged 100% and let them go all night long. Basically, nothing running, a Wi-Fi connected, but that's about it. And we want to first see, what's a 10-hour battery drain look like when you just lay it on the nightstand? 1, 2, 3, press. Got the same watch faces. 97% on the LEM12, 97% on the Z32. They're identical. Cool. So let's get to it. I've actually already prepared some pictures for you by coming down here into the camera area on both of them. I've been using the front-facing camera as well as the side camera, which is right here, on both of them, and I've made these pictures. So I'm going to bring this picture up. I'm going to take you also over here into the camera where we have the front-facing, oh no, we're on the side-facing camera here. All right. Well, the switcheroo is right behind here. So if I touch that, I can flip it around, and there we are on the front-facing camera. You don't see it, but it's in exactly the same place. And let's bring up that picture. Now, this is the one. This is what I really want to show you right here on the front-facing camera. When you go into details on both of these, you notice that on the LEM12, it's a 480 by 640. You multiply that out. Hey, that isn't even a mega. That's a 0.3 megabyte. That's not 5 megapixels. That's not 8 megapixels. It's also on a short timeout on both of these. Sorry about that. It's really, really small. Well, what's it like over here? When you come in to details, 1088 by 1920, multiply that out. Yeah, it's about 2 megapixel camera, right? So the actual resolution of the front-facing camera image is much smaller on this LEM12. Guys, if any of you have an LEM12, please, in the show notes down below, take a picture with your front-facing camera, hit details, and tell all of us, is yours 640 by 480, 1088 by 1920, or something different? That's a big decision-making factor. If I go to the other picture now, ignore the colors because they were taken at different times at night and whatnot, and I look at the display details of both of these. Oops, that's another one of the indoor ones, or the front ones. There we go. Here's the side camera. They are 2448 by 3264. That multiplies out to 8 megapixels. It's truly a 5 megapixel camera. The image is up interpolated to 8 megapixels. Both of them are identical. So side cameras are the same. Front cameras appear to be different. That's the big difference between the two. That's it, guys. The rest of this, I'm going to just kind of play with you. If you've got time in quarantine, let's take a closer look at the build quality and everything else about them, which turns out, spoiler alert, is identical. I mean, really, between the two. There is no difference between the LEM12 and the Z32 that I can tell, except for that mistake on the band and the camera resolution. So let's look at the actual body of these things. 100% identical. I mean, literally made in the same factory. Everything is the same. There's a little cover over the diode. You want to take that off, as well as the removable cover on the front, and little red strip around the buttons. All of that's the same. The only other thing that could be slightly different is the sounds. So let's turn the sounds on, turning silent off, and the watch faces. So I'm going to press and hold and do a restart on both of these watches. You ready? 1, 2, 3. This way we can check the reboot time as well. Boy, they both sound exactly the same. You got the OUKITEL label on this one, and of course you got the LEMFO one on this one. They're both coming up exactly the same. And this is the firmware difference. When a company buys these from a factory that makes them, they brand them themselves. So LEMFO's got its brand logo going, and OUKITEL's got theirs, and then they'll possibly go through some other gyrations as they... Did you hear all that? As they load the different firmware, and they may have, and usually do, different watch faces on here. So if everything else is identical in the watches, and you're comfortable buying either one, then the only factor to shop on is how fast it comes up. This one was a little bit faster, and what the watch faces look like. So we'll run through that, and then we'll wrap this thing up. And you know what? I'll show you that we've got basically the same everything going on here. And press and hold to get into them. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time. You see, here's one with a little boat, and this is another different kind of face. And here's one with looks like a flower, and now we're into another face here. You'll see these faces start to show up, like here, that are identical. And from here on, they're the same between the two watches. So just those first few are different. But as you'll see in just a moment, at the very end, the ones that were at the beginning on one watch are toward the end on the other. Till you really get way, way down here. Here we go. Now we're starting to see a little bit different. Oh, no, we're not. There we go. I'm just ahead of myself. Okay. Yep. Lots of watch faces on both watches. So they're pulling from the same pool. Here you go. Now you got that little boat one that was at the beginning on this one. And there's that flower one. And now these are custom faces that I've put on here, and they work on here as well. Just to show you, these are Alrod's faces. Here's a beer bubbling in a glass, an animated face. And here is a touch face capability. So you have different buttons that you can put on. So if you want to go into making calls, you could do that. Animated faces and touch-sensitive faces are supported on both of the watches. But these are custom. I'll have links to Alrod's material down below, so if you want to put any of these faces on your watch, you could pick up his free set or his promo professional set, of which these are part of, and for a small fee, and you could add them to your watch as well. Okay, so those are the watch faces. Now, the other thing I want to highlight are some of the differences that are in both of these are identical, but they're different than other watches that we've reviewed. For example, when you come over here and swipe again, you get into the fitness area, right? And when you go into one of these fitness things, like an outdoor run, and you hit the start button, it immediately goes into it without connecting GPS. This is the old original version 1 of the fitness software. It's on both of these. It should be updatable through a firmware upgrade, but that hasn't happened. You know you got the original when you just tap and it finishes. The newer ones, you have to hold, it says long press, and you have to hold it down so you don't accidentally stop your run or something like that. So they're both using the old fitness firmware. They both have the basic information for doing your step count, distance traveled, and all of that business. However, in newer firmware on some of the watches, you can change your input to British, English, imperial. As opposed to kilograms and centimeters, you've got pounds and inches. In fact, the real newest firmware, when you first boot up and it asks you what language you're running, stuff like that, it will also ask you, do you want metric or imperial? And then it'll take you into that page where you can set your stuff up. Little subtle things, but that's one of the things that's different between the two. Some of the other watches, when you get into your overall settings, allow you to go into a layout on the app list style, and instead of having arc like we looked at there, or round that looks like this, you could have the bubble. Again, just subtle ways of presenting the data differently that you can change within the settings themselves that are modifiable. But we're talking things like the Thor 5 Pro or the Cospet Prime or the Genesis, for goodness sakes, one of the best watches out there. This on the LEM12 and on the Z32 is identical all the way across in the way it presents its information. Again, the only difference I'm seeing is that front-facing camera resolution that needs to be resolved on whether the production units that are shipping of the LEM12 have the same camera as the Z32. And if not, I'd recommend buying the Z32. If so, it doesn't matter, buy the best price. Okay? Oh, P.S. A lot of you guys really want to know what the battery life is like, and I always backpedal because it takes so long to set it up and run it in all kinds of different conditions for every kind of watch that I review every third day of the week. I just don't have the time, but I did do it for you for this one because I just thought it would be beneficial when we have a dock and we have a watch. And well, anyway, here's the results. Fully charged LEM12, pretty much the same, I imagine, as the Z28, same battery in both of them. So I ran it with this one and a fully charged dock. That's how we started. In the watch, I had Wi-Fi on, but all the other radios off. No Bluetooth, no cellular, no GPS. The twister wrist was on with a timeout of 15 seconds and the pedometer count was on. But other than at the beginning, I really didn't wear it. I kind of just set it on the table and let it go. So I started on the 27th of the month at 9 a.m. at 100% power. 10 hours later, after casual use, that's about 60% not wearing, 40% wearing in that 10 hours, it had dropped down to 63%. On the 29th at 2 p.m., which is 2 days, 5 hours later, not wearing now, I'm just letting it sit on the side, dropped down from 63 to 38%. On the 29th, now we're at 2 days, 13 hours, right? Down to 29%. Then on the 30th at 9 a.m., we're at 3 days. So 3 full days dropped down to 17% of just a little casual use, but mostly not wearing. Now, I put it on the dock, okay? At 3 p.m., On the day number 3 at 6 hours, it was at 8%. That's when I put it on the dock. It's charged it up from 8% to 78% in a 1-hour period. And then I took it off the dock and set it aside, not wearing the rest of the time. After 4 days, exactly from start, I was at 78 down to 60%, then down to 30% in another day. And then after 5 days and 4 hours, it dropped that last bunch really quickly in that 4 hours. And I used it during this time I used it indoors for one of the videos you saw on these watches. And that ate up some of the power. So it dropped down to 1% at that point. Then, when the watch went off, which wasn't too much longer after that, I charged it for 30 minutes on the dock after fully charging the dock again. So a 30-minute charge on the dock, checked it out, turned it on, checked it out, and it was at 30%. So then I turned the watch off, I put it on the dock, and I just let it go until it drained the dock all the way down, and the dock fully charged the watch to 78% again, which you could flip back here to right here after I took it off the dock the first time, and you can compute what your cycle would be of charging only by the dock as long as you have a way to charge the dock. Okay, that's the time results I've got for pretty much casual to hardly any use of the LEM12. Therefore, when you set all this up and figure how many days you can get, yours should be less than that if you're going to be using the watch extensively, and a lot less than that if you're going to have the screens on for any significant time, because the battery is what eats, or the screen is what eats the battery a whole lot. Okay, that's the battery test. And then I got one guy out there who is constantly saying, take your watch and take a picture of text. I don't care what it is, show me a picture of text. So I thought a good way to introduce you guys to the great courses. I don't know if you're getting this yet or not. You can buy individual courses that are incredible. You can actually subscribe to a new service called, the Great Courses Plus, I believe, that is streaming these courses. So while you're hunkered down with nothing to do, that's a great thing to do, is to watch these courses online or buy them in CDs, or you can listen to audio. You can buy the courses and download them and hold on to them forever, or when you subscribe, you can download them and have them offline. But I'm using it for text, so I want to find something with some different fonts here. Going to come into the watch, and this is what I wanted to show you on these cameras. So we're going to kill a bunch of birds all at once here. Going to go into the camera. Now remember, we have the side-facing camera, and that's the same resolution on both of these. So I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to turn it sideways. Well, it's going to be kind of funky which way it looks, but we'll just play with it. I'm going to take a picture. And I got that. And then I'm going to flip it around to my front-facing camera, which is me, and I'm going to turn it upside down and take a picture. I hope. Let's see if it focuses. And if I did good, I should have two pictures, text and text. Okay, now this one, remember, is 640 by 480 on the LEM12. And if I double tap, hello? Hey, double tap. Oh, it's supposed to zoom in. Okay, pinch and zoom, I guess. Here we go. Here is what the words look like. There's Anna Mason. There's 3 different font sizes. It's a little bit blurry, but it's definitely readable, right? And that's in the 640 by 480 image with the front camera. When you go to the other photo that we just took, right here, now I'm getting the double tap to work. I don't know why I didn't before. Okay. And here we go. I zoom in a little bit, and it's still fuzzy, but it's still readable. It doesn't have a lot of the artifacts, but it does seem to be a little bit fuzzier, not as sharp around the edges as the front-facing camera. But wait, there's more. We also have the Z32, right? And it's got its front-facing camera and side right here. And I'm on the side again. Excellent. We're going to come down, take a picture from that one, and we've got it. And now we're going to flip it over in my little cameo. Hello, everybody. And we're going to turn it upside down and take that picture. And did we get it? We got that one. We got that one. And remember, this one is now 1088 by 1920. So double tap, double tap. This is working on the double tap, but I'd really rather pinch and zoom. Where did Ann go? Did I get that one? Well, we'll get another little section in here. Okay, that's this. Oh, let's do this one since we are on that one already on the other one. Sorry, I'm jumping all over, guys. Here we go. Double tap, and so forth. There's Ann Mason. Those are the identical side cameras, identical resolution. Of course, I'm zoomed in at a different zoom rate, but that's the difference, given that it may not be in the proper focus or any of that other stuff. But there you go, the LEM12 versus the Z32 on text resolution. Now we bail out of this and come back to this one. Double tap, and I just can't get close enough. So I want to zoom in and get closer. And same thing here. Back to this one. Now, interesting, huh? The 640 by 480 gives you kind of highlighting around the words. And the other one here with a higher resolution seems to me to be a little more washed out. What do you think? So, I don't know what to advise other than say, let your eyes guide you. That's, okay, to me, this is looking sharper, actually, in the 640 by 480, if that's what these pictures really are. Because remember, it's supposed to be two 5-megapixel cameras, according to the spec, not one 0.3 resolution camera. And one 5-megapixel. And then this one is supposed to be a 2-megapixel. So, I don't know. I'm going to leave it to you at this. This is sharper. Daggum, I don't know. The specs are off. The resolution is wrong. I don't know what's right anymore. But the proof is what you see. And to me, the LEM12 now, in the front-facing camera, looks like it's producing sharper images. When you zoom way out, that's what they look like way out. So freeze your screen here and zoom in on your YouTube screen and see how that looks. Wow. Well, we've covered a lot, and I really appreciate you guys that wanted to hang on to the end to kind of go down this little path with me. It's almost like a YouTube Live thing. And there we have it. We have covered the comparison between these two watches. Links in the show notes if you want to buy them, and much more to come. So we'll see you back here again soon. Thanks for subscribing, guys.